My name is Hill Kourkoutis. I am a producer, mixer, and engineer from Toronto, Canada.
I'm Skye, and I'm the drummer for the EZdrummer pack that we're making here.
I was approached by Toontrack to do a sound library, and this is kind of a project I've been dreaming about doing for a long time. So when I was approached, it was a very easy yes, and it was exciting from day one. I was under a lot of pressure when I was asked to choose a drummer for this project because I work with a lot of incredible drummers. It was difficult because I'm like, how do I narrow that down? I want to work with all of them because they're all so fun. But Skye was actually the first person that came to mind. And I've worked with Skye on various projects. He drums in a band called Digging Roots that I've produced.
Hill just texted me, just out of, like on a whim, sort of very loose pitch for the project. So she basically said, Skye, I have this this big gig coming up. Love to work with you on it. And it'll be great. It'll be a little bit atypical to your typical drum session. So,
and what I love about Skye is he's really creative. You know, you ask him to come in and play a groove and he's not playing the most obvious groove. Like there is a spin on something that just makes something really unique. So I adore his creativity, but he's also extremely meticulous. And I'm kind of that way too. Like when I'm working on a project, I do like to be driven by the feel of things most of the time and my intuition. But I do kind of like to break things down and analyze them and perfect things and refine them. And Skye shares a very similar mentality to that. And so that's perfect in this instance because we are doing quite meticulous work. It's like the end result is really exciting. And for me, this process is very exciting, but a lot of people don't find this process exciting because it is very meticulous and it's painstaking.
I never really knew what was happening until we got here. So it was a nice surprise until the hi-hats. The hi-hat days.
I kept checking in with him being like, do you need a break or anything? Because you know, you're doing hi-hats for 2 hours and he's just like, no, let's go. You know, so yeah, he definitely likes to work hard.
Yeah, mostly play hard.
Yeah, so Skye, you know, he has really great feel. He's very consistent, which I thought was very important for a project like this too. And he's also just an awesome human to hang out with. And when you're in a studio doing this for, you know, 10 to 12 hours for 10 days straight, you want the vibe also to be amazing.
And we're also good friends. And she's good friends with my parents. So, you know, we're family in a way and best buds or whatever, just best friends.
I chose Canterbury Music Company here in Toronto because some of the best sounds I've gotten on records that I've produced have come out of this space. And you know, it's not only an amazing vibe, which I think is really important. The acoustics are great, but you know, they have this really amazing vintage Neve board. This board is quite magical, and every time I hear any music coming out of it, it gives me this feeling, like it gives you this feeling right here. So of course I'd want to record this dream sound library through it, you know. You know, the music that was done in a certain time is kind of reflective of that time and the spirit of that time. And I think that as much as I'm inspired by those things, I think it's always important to kind of bring that into the space that we're in right now. So a big part of the sound that I like to achieve, you know, is a mixture of all those analog things that give you this kind of visceral kinesthetic reaction in your body. There's a soul to it, right? Because there's like, when everything's going through all these capacitors and like transistors, there are harmonics in there that you're getting, like ghosts in the machine kind of a vibe. So I'm always trying to find that balance of like taking these vintage aesthetics, but then also, you know, mixing them with these contemporary sounds that we couldn't achieve back then. And that was part of the spirit of this pack too. You know, I wanted to introduce a sampling pad to complement every single kit. In addition to that, we also It's kind of crazy. We recorded everything through like 34 or 35 mics. And that seems kind of insane off the top, but there's a reason for that. You know, I think that part of the magic of, you know, what we're doing here is we have all the direct mics on the drums, but each room mic that has been established in that space has its own identity, it has its own aesthetic. So even just simply through the mix, even if you were just gonna go and bring certain mics out or even eliminate certain mics, you can drastically change the sound of the kit, and then it becomes 10 different kits. It's not just this one vintage kit, you know? And that's also exciting for me too. I'm obsessed with gear. And a lot of people are like, why do you need so many different things? And it's like, well, everything has a tone and a quality to it, and a vibe. And especially when it comes to drums, like I'm very meticulous about tone, because for me, that's the basis of any production. Like when we're starting with the drums, that could influence a lot of the aesthetic and the overall sound. That's kind of what gives something swagger. I knew that I had 4 kits to choose, and it was a matter of kind of ensuring that there was tonal diversity amongst those kits, and that they could kind of be used in specific and or various applications. The first kit for me was a no-brainer. I have this Japanese stencil kit that I fell in love with. I found it for something like $250 or something. And it was at a point in my life where I'm like, I just wanted to play music that didn't have an expectation attached to it. So I was like, and I'd gotten rid of all my drums and everything. So I was like, I'm gonna buy this really cheap drum kit. And it was a quirky little kit. Like it has a bit of a crazy wrap on it. And I brought it home. I didn't even test it out. I just brought it home and I started to play it. And I'm like, whoa, this actually sounds amazing. Like I wasn't expecting it.
Like these really interesting, unique, sort of garagey, but like focused tones. And
it's kind of become the primary kit in my home studio. It's called The Lair. It's in the basement of my house. And
it was like pretty exciting. And then when I heard Hill was gonna bring it, I was pretty excited, yeah.
It's from the early 60s. So it has this really beautiful, warm kind of sound to it, you know, which I tend to gravitate towards more of those kind of vintage sounds, if you can't tell already. The vintage 1940s kit that we recorded next, it holds a special place in my heart, this kit. It belongs to my friend Lyle Molson, who's another one of my favorite drummers to work with out of Toronto. I just remember the first time we were auditioning the sound of it after we had set up all the mics, I had chills. Like there's like ghosts in this kit or something, but it sounds incredible. It's so resonant and massive, and it really lends itself beautifully to kind of more Americana aesthetic, but I also think it could work. Like, again, it's one of those things where you might think of a specific genre for that kit, but I think it works in many applications.
Very, very warm, round tones on that guy. We did sticks, we did brushes, we did mallets, just to sort of get the full gamut of what the kit was capable of, and what sonically was capable from the different articulations and things like that. So yeah, we went through a lot of different stuff to make it sort of sing. Yeah,
I kind of wanted to immortalize that kit through this process, because I was so inspired by it, you know, and a lot of that too, it comes from the drummer, but it's also, as I said, the tone. So the third kit we recorded, it's known as a 70s rock kit. It was very important to me to bring in a massive kind of boomy rock sounding kit, because that's another type of music that I make. It's not the exact configuration, but it's very close to the kit and the configuration that John Bonham used. So it has that sound to it.
Yeah, I got to get my like Bonham out on when we were sound checking there. Yeah, big tones, tons of boosh, tons of fatness, lots of attack, but still like warm and round, because, you know, I think Hill really doesn't want specific things. One of those things is like that really ticky, clicky, high-end, poppy punch. She likes like the bottom end, the fatness. So that definitely achieved that. It's fun, so fun to play.
I was really blown away by how big it sounded, how full it sounded. It's super lush. And again, it's like I was thinking of it being a rock kit, but I do think that it could, you know, also translate across many genres as well. This is Skye's personal drum kit. He's used it a bunch on various projects and plays live with it.
Yeah, this is my my touring kit. Our old sound tech Graham, he builds drums as well as teching on drums, and he's a sound guy as well. He refurbed this for us and got it into playing condition. We found it in some guy's basement and got it for a steal, and then managed to bring it up to like better than it ever was condition. Battened down the hatches, glued all the edges down, new hoops, all that good stuff. So it's pretty bulletproof, and it still has that nice vintage sound. So like Motown round, yeah.
I love Skye's playing, I love his aesthetics, and it was really special to bring his own sound into this as well, because it's a sound that I respect immensely and I find it quite inspiring. And yeah, everything together sounds amazing. Like, what's amazing about all of these kits is that they're interchangeable with each other. They all work with each other, but they also stand alone and kind of shine in doing whatever they've been meant to do as well. Another big part of my process, as I've said, is to have this kind of acoustic, vintage, organic aesthetic, but also combine that with something contemporary. And what I'm really excited to do now after we finish, we're gonna record some additional one-shots of percussion and various things. And then I'm excited to go into my studio and sound design a bunch of one-shots that will end up on a sampling pad that are complementary to these kits as well. I love using percussion in productions because those are kind of the ear candy bits, or you know, they're also a way to add kind of counter rhythm to break things up and make things interesting. And they just give me more layers to play with when I get to a mix. And so keeping that in mind, we have such an array of sound that we've captured just in these 4 kits. And so for the stage of recording percussion and one-shots, I don't necessarily have a clear idea of exactly what I'm gonna do. I think the intention is to get our hands on all the percussion that I've brought, that Skye's brought, that Mike's brought. And then the studio, we just found like a random giant basket of like an insane amount of percussion things as well, that some of them I've never seen before. And I kind of want to create something that both organic and synthetic kind of palettes that complement each kit. So yeah, we're just going to record as many different things as we can, because I'm also thinking about the potential to layer things and create new sounds that are very unique, you know, that aren't necessarily just capturing this one object. When we were talking about putting this project together, I was really trying to think about the group of people that were going to come together, because we're going to be here for 10 days straight with no breaks. And that could become intense, right? Very quickly, if it's not the right vibe coming in and the attitude. So when I was asked to bring a tech on board, I thought about my friend Mike Cormier.
He is a serious guy. I mean, like, not serious, but his people he's worked with, you know, his knowledge base, I'm basically able to just stand back and watch him do his magic. He's like, he'll jump in there and listen to 2 things on the drum, and then all of a sudden it starts singing. It's really cool.
Mike is an incredibly hard worker. He is so passionate. He's a nice guy, and he has so much experience. You know, he was Charlie Watts's tech. He's teched for the Tragically Hip, and he's just been on the road forever. And he's amazing at what he does.
But he's very meticulous in that way. It makes it sound amazing. And he has so many fun stories to listen to about being on the road with all these monsters. Like, it's definitely awesome having him here, you know, and he's good energy too, to just hang out with, you know, yeah.
And he's like, you don't have to tell him what to do. He's already on to the next thing. Like, we were laughing the other day because we were expecting this kit to be delivered to the studio, and we were sitting here talking. And then an hour after the kit was supposed to be delivered, I'm like, hey, Mike, did the kit ever get here? And he's like, oh yeah, I already like put it in the studio and it's in that corner. And I had no idea, like, I didn't even see him. He's like stealth. But yeah, he's just a complete joy to work with. And I'm constantly learning from people like Mike, who just have this wealth of experience. Even just seeing, you know, how he sits there and tunes the drums and why he does things a certain way. It's been like such a treat to have him be a part of this and bring all of his wisdom to this project.
I think that's probably the thing that we did the best, was picking the team. Like, there's no one butting heads, not once. You know, everything's been, from a personality standpoint, seamless. You know, that's rare in the studio. That never happens. You know, so I think that actually is, made so much space for the creativity and for the process to be like exactly what we need it to be, or what we want it to be.
It's interesting because in terms of the pre-production of this, I approached it very much like I would a production, because the number one thing going into it that I was thinking about was aesthetics, and how do we bend the sounds to give us versatility, but also create these very specific moods and palettes, and coming up with palettes is kind of my approach to production in general. That's how we make music that sounds unique and different and not cookie cutter. So I didn't want this pack to be cookie cutter. I wanted it to be exciting and have an aesthetic, because anyone can go and record a drum directly and make it sound clean and beautiful. But for me, the magic is kind of in the dirt and the character of things. What was really amazing about this process is that I started to just dream a little bigger, and I was able to do whatever I wanted. I was able to set up 35 mics to record one drum kit. Like that was really exciting to me. That's the kind of stuff I geek out over, right? And I found this whole experience very energizing. Like, I almost, when I was going home, the wheels were turning, and like, what else can we do, to further curate this and make it like the best thing it could be. When I heard the initial playback, we did a very, very rough assembly of the first few kits in the software. And it wasn't even like the meticulous articulations yet, but as soon as I heard the playback, I was blown away, because first of all, the kits sound like they sound if Skye were to be playing the kit, even through these MIDI grooves. So I was very inspired and excited by what it's ultimately gonna become and where we're gonna end up.
It sounds amazing. It was kind of mind-blowing. I walked in earlier today and you guys were fiddling around with it, and it was blowing my mind. I think what we're doing here is really special. We got like an awesome setup and great team, so I think everything's coming together in a beautiful way, and the sounds are crazy. It's blowing my mind a little bit. Yeah.
What I'm really excited about is being able to take all of these sounds that I think would work in any one of my productions, not necessarily need a drummer for the session, because everything is so precise and articulate as if a drummer would be playing it in the EZdrummer software. And then being able to also, without having to manually lay in those contemporary sounds, integrate them within the plugin as well. So for me, workflow-wise, that saves a lot of time. So I'm really excited about being able to translate that and streamline my workflow within the EZdrummer platform.
I do write my own music. It's not publicly anywhere yet, but I mainly work with my father in the studio, and we have our own home studio. So he's used a lot of like EZdrummer products over the years, and whenever I'm not around to like lay down a groove, he's already used them. So I think like a lot of this we're going to be able to just throw right in there and use like so perfectly. And I think the benefit of it too is he'll be able to get sort of my nuance, so to speak, in the studio, or I will when I'm at home, because we're far apart. But yeah, definitely going to be in the studio with this stuff for sure. Yeah.
I'm so proud of what we've accomplished here. I think that aesthetically, everything is very curated. It's not just a straight up, drum set that's been mic'd and sampled. There's been a lot of thought put into the sound, and the tone. And I kind of hope that the tones alone are inspiring to people. And that's kind of what we want to achieve through these kits is like, how do we heighten these sounds to create environments that then inspire you, to do something new. I don't know, this pack is kind of like a playground. It's auditory alchemy. And I think that it's meant to inspire and it's meant to enhance what you do.